Now, I have a letter here which was in the Irish Times during the... Terry Healy, where's Terry Healy? Hi, Terry. I want to talk to you now. What did you say in your letter in the Irish Times?
I said I was totally confused about all the posters in Thomas Street where I work.
All the posters?
All the posters.
You don't know whether you're going to vote yes or no?
I do know what I'm going to vote, but I don't know whether it is yes or no to the posters. Some of the posters have protect women and children, pro-life, vote yes. Next poster would have babies will die, pro-life, vote no.
And you're confused?
Well, I'm a Christian. I believe in the teachings of Jesus Christ. I'm a firm believer in pro-life. So I'm confused. Is it yes? Is it no? And I don't want to make a mistake. It's too important.
Okay. We know that it's causing confusion. We had a lot of people calling my radio program during the week saying, what do these posters mean? And they're all a bit confusing, perhaps even a bit simplistic, because it's a complicated business. Yes. And we have a couple of the posters. I mean, we have 6 posters here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you look at the 2 in the middle, protect women and save babies, vote yes.
Vote yes.
Babies will die, vote pro-life, vote no.
Yes, that's
what I mean, they are sort of saying the same thing, but you're inviting you to vote in different directions. How many people here are, you know, certain in their minds what the issue is all about? Hands up. One. One person. One person. So that is why what we did was, and it's kind of a novel idea, I suppose, we invited 6 people in to stand over, literally and metaphorically, over their posters. And I'll introduce them to you. From the pro-life campaign, Dr Berry Kiely. From Fianna Fáil, Junior Minister Mary Coughlan. From the pro-life movement, Ben O'Flynn. From the Mother and Child campaign, Justin Barrett. From Labour, we have Liz McManus. And from Fine Gael, we have Nora Owen. And what we're going to do is we're going to give them each a couple of minutes, 2 minutes, to literally explain what their poster means. And I'm going to put a stopwatch on it, and with a couple of seconds to go, I'll just tell people it's time. And then if you want to ask them questions, you're free to do so, or I will pursue them on your behalf. But anyway, it's going to be a couple of minutes each, and we're going to start with Dr Berry Kiely, who's with me now. The poster reads, vote yes, support women, protect the unborn, and that's from the pro-life campaign. So, Dr Berry Kiely.
Thank you, Pat. Well, as the poster says, the pro-life campaign is fully supporting this referendum. The reasons why we are supporting it, as we've tried to express it here in the poster, is because this referendum protects mothers and their babies. And I think that's probably what the vast majority of people in this country want to see. What this referendum does, it ensures that abortion cannot be brought into Ireland. It ensures that babies cannot be aborted. At the same time, it makes sure that women can receive all necessary medical, surgical or psychiatric treatment that they might need during their pregnancy, while at the same time making sure that the doctors do everything possible to save the life of the unborn. That's the crucial balance that's in this mechanism. It protects both the baby and the mother and ensures that what is today current medical practice continues to be, and that good standard of medical practice, as a result of which we have the lowest maternal mortality rate in the world, that will continue, and it safeguards it for the future. At the same time, I think we all recognise that it contains within it a challenge for society, a challenge to us all, that we have to try and make this country a more welcoming place for a woman who has an unintended pregnancy, to give her all the emotional, financial, medical and other support that she might need, so that fewer and fewer women take that awfully lonely and often heartbreaking route to abortion. There are very good alternatives to abortion, and we need to highlight those more. We need to move on from this position right now with a yes vote on March the 6th, move on from that to putting our energies, which are very considerable, into actually helping and promoting the alternatives to abortion so that fewer women will take that route, because we know it can be so damaging for women as well as for their babies.
2 minutes, precisely. Thank you very much, Dr Berry Kiely. You can applaud if you wish, even if you don't have to agree to applaud. Now, the Fine Gael poster says, vote no, don't make women's lives worth less. And on behalf of Fine Gael, 2 minutes to Nora Owen.
Thanks, Pat, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This amendment is flawed and it is unsafe to put into our Constitution. It reduces a woman's equal right to life that's enshrined already in Article 43(3). It ignores the mental health and the well-being of a woman, and it downgrades those qualified psychiatrists and psychologists whose professional opinion every day in our courts and in our hospitals we take note of, and yet we won't trust their advice when they make a statement on a woman's suicidal condition when pregnant. This amendment will endanger the life of any future X or C case. A future C case girl will not be assisted by a health board to go to the UK to have an abortion. By its very complexity, it will insert into our Constitution, if passed, a provision which cannot be changed without another referendum. And of course, it could lead to numerous Supreme Court challenges with unforeseen circumstances. It now appears, ladies and gentlemen, that we cannot believe the government's assurances that it confirms the legality of the morning after pill or the IUD. A woman might be prosecuted if she takes the morning after pill. I say to you that voting no in this amendment will not lead to abortion on demand in this country. And finally, this amendment will do nothing to prevent even one of the 7,000 or more Irish women who each year feel compelled to travel to the UK to have an abortion. I say to you, don't make women's lives worth less, and I ask you to vote no.
Thank you very much, Nora Owen of Fine Gael. Again, 2 minutes precisely. You must have rehearsed, all of you. On to the second speaker with a yes vote recommended, and this is Fianna Fáil. Vote yes to protect women and children is the slogan, and the Junior Minister, Mary Coughlan, is here to make that case. Mary.
Good morning, Pat. First of all, I'd like to explain briefly what this government and what Fianna Fáil's position is regarding the amendment to the Constitution. We're simply asking the people to look at 2 new articles into the Constitution. First one, to give constitutional protection to a new law to protect human life in pregnancy. And the second is to ensure that this new law cannot be changed without the people's consent. This new law will be known as the Protection of Human Life in Pregnancy. It will protect women by ensuring that doctors can give any medical treatment which is necessary to save the life of a pregnant woman. It will protect the unborn by providing that abortion is and will remain illegal in this country. And thirdly, it will remove any doubt about emergency contraception, and it restates and reaffirms the right to travel and the right to information. The law also provides that threat of suicide will not be a ground for abortion in this country. No one has said that abortion is a treatment for suicide. In fact, many of our eminent psychiatrists have said that the amendment provides support and protection for women's mental health and the health and safety of their babies. And they've also referred that an international experience where the use of a suicide ground has, in fact, hopelessly compromised psychiatrists. We've also known that the Institute of Obstetricians and Gynecologists have welcomed the government's proposals underpinning current medical practice.
Time.
So therefore, what we're saying is we believe this is an honest solution to a complex problem. The message is clear. We should vote yes if we want a society which cares for and helps women rather than offering abortion as a solution. And if we want to protect and support the lives of pregnant women, we should vote yes.
Thank you, Mary Coughlan. The next poster on behalf of the Labour Party reads, let's trust women, protect women's right to life, vote no. And on behalf of the Labour Party, Liz McManus.
Thank you. Before we vote, we need to ask ourselves a question. If it was your daughter who was raped, who was pregnant, and that the experience was so horrific, felt that she wanted to end her life, was suicidal, would you believe her? Wouldn't you trust her? Wouldn't you want to do everything possible to help her? And at the moment, she has an entitlement, if her life is at risk, to end that pregnancy, because that's in our Constitution. The government won't trust her. That's what this referendum is about. It doesn't trust women, your daughters, your sisters, your girlfriends, when they say they won't or they can't believe them when they say, or might say at some point in the future, I want to end it all because of what's happened to me. Now, the other side is right, that this is a rare occurrence. Most pregnant women don't feel suicidal, but we do know it can happen. It happened twice in the last 10 years. 2 young girls, the C case and the X case, were suicidal. One was 14, one was only 13, and they were able to get a termination of pregnancy through the court because of the Constitution protection that this government wants to take away from some future young girl, maybe 13-year-old girl into the future. Now you have to ask yourselves, do I want to deny that young girl in the future her chance to terminate her pregnancy if she's suicidal, even if she's my own daughter? If the answer to that is no, I would urge you to vote no in this referendum, because that is essentially why we're being asked to make this change in the Constitution.
Time.
To exclude self-destruction as a grounds to have a termination pregnancy. Also, it's a confusing issue. If you're confused, if you don't know, I would also recommend vote no and let the government come back with some fresh proposal.
Thank you. Liz McManus on behalf of the Labour Party. Next on the yes side, and this is a poster published by the pro-life movement, Protect Women and Save Babies, vote yes. And to make that case, Barrister Ben O'Flynn. Ben.
Thank you very much, Pat. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This question is actually a remarkably simple one. And voting yes on March the 6th is going to be a rejection of abortion. My own perspective on this, and the reason why I come to this debate, is because I was brought up in England. I've seen, if you like, at first hand, the friends, the wives, the people who can be affected by this culture of abortion. And voting yes is going to be Ireland saying it's turning its back on that global industry of abortion. And what's remarkable is the similarity that there is between the legal situation here following the X case and the legal situation as it pertains in England. In 1967, the English introduced an abortion act that for its time was remarkably restrictive. It looked on the face of it as if it would only deal with the exceptional hard case. And we all know what's happened since. What's happened since is that abortions are carried out routinely up until 6 months. If you have a handicapped child in your womb, they're carried out up to term, up to 9 months, up to birth. And people who vote yes on March the 6th will be turning their back on that. But at the same time, people who vote yes will be saying that they want the current medical practice, which has made Ireland the safest place in the world to have a baby, to continue. And what will happen, and it's spelt out in black and white in the Act, and I would urge everybody, particularly the people who have doubts, read the bill, read the booklet from the Referendum Commission, call at one of the websites, prolife.ie, it's got all the information that you would need, all the background information you need. Inform yourself as to what it says in black and white, and you will be reassured that spelt out in the bill is that expectant mothers who need treatment will be able to get that treatment.
Time.
And that's the reason, they're the twin reasons, turning your back on abortion, but at the same time safeguarding the medical treatment afforded to women. They are the reasons to vote yes. And I'd urge everybody with all the force that I can muster to vote yes when it comes to March the 6th. It is vitally important that people do that.
Thank you very much. That's Ben on behalf of the pro-life movement advocating a yes. And our final formal presentation over 2 minutes. The poster says, "Babies will die, vote pro-life, vote no." And the speaker is Justin Barrett, chairman of the group, the Mother and Child Campaign. Justin.
Thanks very much, Pat. I would love to tell people that this was a pro-life amendment. That would be a very comfortable thing for me to do, and to back a yes campaign which would see the death ideology which has been expressed by Liz McManus here trounced once and for all in Ireland. But what the government have presented us with, and I have an obligation to tell you the truth about that, as in the words of the old Fenian song, "Though all the world should fall." I feel I have an obligation to tell you this. This is not a pro-life amendment. This is an amendment for the first introduction of legalised abortion in Ireland. And it is being clouded in complex language, and you are not being given the information that is required. The government only published 30,000 copies of the bill so that you wouldn't get a chance to read it. If you read the bill, it's very clear that limited abortion, mind you, but abortion, the direct and intentional killing of unborn children in this country, has been legalised, not by Supreme Court interpretation, not dirtying the hands of Fianna Fáil in Dáil Éireann with it, but by you, the people, by confusion and deceit. Section 1 describes abortion as the intentional destruction of unborn human life after implantation in the womb. And Section 2, dealing with the medical procedures, which are not current medical practice, says, notwithstanding subsection 1, abortion does not mean. In other words, here's what an abortion is, but for the purposes of the law, we'll call these medical procedures something else. They are the direct and intentional killing of the unborn child. Plus, and the Minister is quite clear about this, we are removing the protection of the right to life of the unborn child between conception and implantation. And this is a much bigger issue than the morning after pill or the IUD. It deals with embryo research and stem cell cannibalisation, the biotechnical industry which wants to move into this country and will kill unborn human beings by the thousands and by the tens of the thousands at the very earliest stages of their lives. And so we would urge people not to support this bill. It is an abortion bill. It is the first introduction, and they're asking you to bloody your hands with that introduction.
All right, thank you very much, Justin Barrett. Okay, first of all, are you any clearer, having heard...
Vote yes.
Okay, so that's clarified it for you. How about the rest of our audience? Anyone definitely clearer than they were a few minutes ago? Hands up.
That last man was more confusing.
I beg your pardon?
That last gentleman was more confusing.
Justin was more confusing.
Yeah, I didn't know. He seemed to be ranting.
Maybe we'll go to Justin to clarify this. It's about the time from conception, when the sperm meets the egg and a unique
human being
is formed, and implantation. And the unique human being is not protected in that interregnum.
Oh, it's quite clear. I mean, Senator Ryan put down an amendment during the Senate debates in which he wanted the unborn defined as from implantation onwards.
Okay, now this everyone agrees is to allow for the morning after pill and for the use of the IUD contraceptive, which is quite common in Ireland. Is that your understanding?
No, but it's for embryo research and stem cell cannibalisation specifically.
Sorry, who suggested this in the Senate?
No, I wanted
No, I'm just wondering if you're suggesting that's the motivation of someone.
Oh, it's certainly the motivation of Fianna Fáil, and it's certainly the motivation of the government.
Coughlan, the motivation of Fianna Fáil, stem cell cannibalisation, which is confusing me, I have to say. But
it has absolutely nothing to do with this piece of legislation. We're talking about something outside the womb. What we're saying is this bill, this legislation, refers specifically to the protection of human life in pregnancy. What he's talking about is something totally different. The government has set up a commission on assisted human reproduction, and we'll deal with those issues in due course. But it has absolutely nothing to do with this.
I want to give everyone a shout on this one. Liz McManus?
Well, I think it does show just how complicated it is, because what the government is proposing is to maintain the current section in the Constitution and add on a new one. And it is clear there is an issue that it's not necessarily true to say the morning after pill is protected, because it could still be open to a court case. But really, I think the point is that people can get lost in detail. If you are confused and if you have difficulty understanding and trying to figure out what are the impacts likely out of this legislation, I think you're much safer to say no,
Ben,
it's not
you
good
want to
enough
come in there?
simply to have something presented to the people that is not clearly understood.
Right, Ben.
Liz McManus has let the cat out of the bag, Pat, and that is people who want a no vote, people who want abortion more widely available will thrive on confusion. And frankly, Justin is entirely wrong. And a remarkable thing is going to happen next week. What's going to happen is not 1, 2, or a dozen, but over 100 barristers and solicitors, practicing barristers and solicitors, are going to ratify in public an agreement that what Justin has said this is about is absolute nonsense. And in putting that group together, I've come across not one solicitor or barrister who is practicing, who is willing to come out publicly and support the proposition that that's what this is about. Even the very title of the bill is the protection of human life in pregnancy.
Okay, Nora.
That's what we're talking about.
Well, I mean, nobody has talked about embryo research being included in this legislation. And I mean, it's a nonsense, quite frankly, to bring that into the argument, to add to the confusion that people already have.
Okay.
Equally, I have to say, because some comments were made here, voting no does not mean people are in favour of abortion on demand. The status quo would remain if people vote no.
Okay,
and
Barrett.
the status quo is the Supreme Court case which says in very limited circumstances a suicidal girl whose life is in danger would be entitled to a termination of pregnancy
Barry,
in
just
this
to give you
country.
a chance to respond to Justin.
Okay, to respond to Justin, and I'd like to respond to Nora if I could as well.
Briefly, because
Okay,
I'm trying
to
to
respond to
spread the time
Justin,
out.
I think the simple answer to that is, as every woman in this audience who's ever had a baby knows, your pregnancy test only becomes positive at implantation. So you only know that you're pregnant after it has already
So it's
implanted.
irrelevant, that
so it's
argument.
irrelevant to this particular
So
referendum.
do you think the bill, even mentioning it, is a nonsense?
Well, no, I think it's a criminal law bill, so presumably it has to be very clear. The criminal law, I
But if
presume,
they don't know,
needs that sort of
if
clarity.
you don't know you're pregnant until implantation has occurred, what's this stuff of putting in implantation in the first place?
To clarify exactly
Is it to
what
allow
is
the
covered.
IUD and the morning after pill? Is that really what it's about?
To be honest, I think it is simply to give absolute clarity as to
Okay.
what is covered and what
Question,
is
yes,
not.
the gentleman there in the middle. What do you want to say? We'll get a microphone to you. Hang on, if you come down to us. Yeah, okay, we have a mic to you. What do you want to say?
Without saying whether I think the yes option is the best option or no option is the best option, I think we have to say that what Liz McManus is saying, if you're confused, vote no. If you're confused, don't vote. Don't just
Stay
go
away.
on one side.
Okay. At the back there. Now, the person we're going to see now was the one person in our audience who said that she understood the whole issue. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say now.
No, I find it completely disingenuous for Liz McManus to stand there and tell us all to fudge the issue, to vote no if we don't know. I think instead of standing there and saying that, she should actually inform us why we should vote no. And also...
I think she did. In fairness, she said if it was your daughter, if it was your sister, or a female relative of yours who was grievously raped and said, I feel like I'm going to kill myself, and that's the reason, she said, if you feel that way. If you don't feel that way, you vote the other way.
Well, that's
fine.
my second point, just to Nora Owen. If she does value the opinion of psychiatrists, I wonder how she feels about the joint statement issued by Professors Clare and Casey last week, telling us that abortion isn't the answer for a suicidal woman, and that studies have shown in the British Medical Journal in 1996 that women who have abortions are 6 times more likely to commit suicide than those
Did
who
you
maintain
happen to hear the
pregnancies.
argument between Patricia Casey and Professor Tom Fahey, another eminent psychiatrist, where they had to agree to differ on this very subject? I'm just thinking, you know, doctors differ, patients die, psychiatrists differ.
Indeed,
I don't know.
but I just feel that often it is lobbied towards the pro-life people that there's hard cases and that there are ambiguities, and
Okay.
rape and incest are often pushed forward. But the hard case is the rights of the unborn
All right,
are
Nora?
never tackled by these
I
people.
mean, with regard to the statements of Tony Clare and Patricia Casey, they're entitled to make their opinion known, but there are equally opposite views being expressed by psychiatrists. And the point I'd really make about the psychiatrists, we use them every day for their professionalism to decide whether a prisoner should be put into a special prison because they're mentally unwell, or whether somebody needs psychiatric care. And somehow or other, we're saying in this particular instance, we're not going to take their professional qualification into account and their professional advice. Judge Gagan used psychiatrists and psychologists to assist him in making a decision about the C case, and psychologists and psychiatrists were used to make a decision in the X case. So we can't kind of suddenly say we don't want to hear from them anymore.
Anyone on the suicide issue? Do you think it's a red herring? Do you think it...
It's the main
it
issue,
seems
Pat.
to be at the nub of everything. It is changing the Constitution to take something out that is currently permitted. That's what this is all about. Anyone got any... Yes, sir.
The doctor and the patient.
It should be between the doctor and the patient.
I imagine so.
Okay, and not bring in the law
forget
and
the law.
all this referendum stuff. I want to turn to Mary on this one. Mary, you said, you quoted as saying, and Morning Ireland quoted this morning, that this is a simple matter. I have the bill here, and I'm used to reading this kind of stuff. This is not simple. If I'm to try and understand this, I really have to sit down and I have to study it. I don't know how people are going to make up their minds easily on this. They're depending on people like you six here to guide them through it. But it is not simple asking ordinary people like me and you to read this stuff and make up our minds. It's not like amendments in the past, which have had a very simple question, with the exception of Nice, I hasten to add, very simple question, yes or no, and we could all vote. This, having a bill attached, makes it very complicated. Would you agree? It's not simple.
I don't agree. It's simple if you know what you want. And in my opinion, people want to protect life in pregnancy. 2 lives, mother and child. A woman who's expecting a baby wants to be assured that any of the normal medical practices that will save her life, and unfortunately, if the occasion happens...
Mary, but that's not the point. I mean, you're telling people that's what's written in the bill. And I respect you. You look at this, you can read it, you're a legislator, you can read it. But a lot of people want to make up their own minds. And I'm saying this doesn't make light reading.
It doesn't make light reading. No piece of legislation will.
Yeah. I'll go to Liz and then Barry. Yes, Liz.
If you know what you want, then in my opinion...
Liz, you're a legislator too, as is Nora.
Well, I had to, because of my job, I had to go through this line by line with the Minister at committee stage. And it is a very complicated bill. I'd love to be able to say vote no and that's the end of it. But I can tell you it is so detailed that it is very difficult to actually understand and you know, tease out all the detail in it. And what's important to remember, it has never been done before that we will be putting an entire law into the Constitution, which cannot really be changed. It certainly would be very difficult to change it if, let's say, we find that we've made a mistake. It would have to go back by way of referendum. Normally, laws are changed in the Oireachtas.
Ben
and
is a
very
barrister.
Often,
Isn't that so, Ben,
flawed.
that once this is signed in, no one can change it without going back to the people, which is the kind of guarantee that many people on your side of the argument want?
That's precisely the point. This is a vital issue. This is an issue that goes to the core of the sort of society we want. And if we want a society that protects the unborn and the expectant mother, then this sort of mechanism that makes it referable to the people, I think this is a fundamental choice that at the end of the day,
can I ask you this,
people
though?
should make that decision.
Can I ask you this? In the past, we've depended on people like yourself and the courts to make decisions for our legislators because they refuse, point blank, to do many things. Is this really your way of saying that we don't trust people like Mary and Liz and Nora to actually frame laws that work for us, that we want to put this in the Constitution because we don't trust those 3 people to do what we are paying them to do?
No, I think because it's important, it's appropriate that it's referable to the people. But also, remember, we've criticised the politicians in the past for concentrating on simply inserting a slogan into the Constitution. Now there's been a fair attempt, and in my opinion, as a barrister, a very effective attempt to ensure that those rights are dealt with. It's not an act... No, but it's not...
something turns up in this, say a subordinate clause, a comma misplaced, a double interpretation, maybe cúpla focal oscuelga, that have a double... And we have Mary here to help us out of that. That have a double meaning. We would have to literally go back to the people to change a comma.
I don't think that...
Isn't that so?
I don't think that this is an issue.
I'm just saying it's
simply
be it may be used in the future.
side.
I'm not saying it's good, bad, or indifferent. I'm saying it's cumbersome. It may be used for future amendments. It may become the elegant way of doing this. But it is a first time, and it is
could I just say, obviously, other parties are afraid to go to the people about this issue.
I don't want to be offensive to Ben and his profession.
Yes.
But in 1983, many, many eminent lawyers like Ben said to us that the 1983 amendment was the right amendment and it meant what it said. Sadly, we discovered it did not mean what it said, what the people who were proposing it thought it was saying. There are 76 lines in the legislation, not alone the hundreds and hundreds of words that are in the legislation. And any one of those could be interpreted by the Supreme Court with a meaning that none of us expect. And there are already uncertainties. There are uncertainties about the privacy of a woman's medical records. There's uncertainty about the approved places.
Okay.
There's uncertainty about the morning after pill. And I disagree with Mary Coughlan. Even the Commission, the Independent Commission, has said in their report that there is doubt about the legality of that.
Very.
And you could see a woman jailed for taking the morning after pill.
Well,
It's not
Very.
scaremongering. The Commission has said it.
Okay,
I would
Barrett.
suggest that we shouldn't underestimate the intelligence of the ordinary everyday person in Ireland. If you think of it, if any of you who've read the Referendum Commission booklet on this, it actually makes a very good job, I think, of making something which, as you say, could be seem complex to anybody who's not used to reading a piece of
Well, I
legislation.
haven't got the stuff through my door yet.
Well, I tell you, it's on the internet. You can get it on their website.
But I
really,
remember,
no,
hang
can
on,
I finish
I
this point,
remember a
Pat? Can I
famous,
finish this?
hang on, I just want to make the point. I remember a famous moment here between Rory Quinn and Jerry Adams when Rory Quinn said, like you've just said, you can read it on our website, and Jerry Adams said, the people we're talking to don't have computers. Now, in fact, Sinn Féin also have a website, so that was, you know, neither here nor there. But the point is, not everyone
But they
is
will
wired.
get it. But they will get it. I'm saying right now it's on the website if you want to go and have
Many
a look
people
at
have it here?
It will be going into every home. They've reassured us on that. Read it. It actually is
Okay,
worth
I want to
reading.
come to
It does a
just in a
good
minute.
job of making it
You wanted to
clear.
say something to us here, yes, in second row. Let's get a microphone to you. Yeah.
I think it's very interesting that all of the posters they promote the health of women, support women, protect women. I think that's very important. But I thought it was very interesting that Dr. Kiely was, out of all the speakers, the speaker who suggested alternatives and spoke in particular about the harrowing journey of those 7,000 women to England that may not have the proper support that when they come back. And I think what is very important is to put in place the kind of structures in this society that deals with women who travel and come back, and to ensure that all women in crisis pregnancies are given the help that they need and
do
housing.
you think, by the way, it's a bit of a hypocrisy that we're able to do all this stuff because we have next door?
To be honest, I don't buy into that argument, simply because as a feminist, I don't think abortion is the best thing for women. And because of that, I wouldn't want a single woman to go through that. And I think it's a bit of a, it's more hypocritic to allow women or to facilitate abortion culture rather than, it's not dealing with the issues of crisis pregnancies. It means that we're not looking at women's real issues. We're sweeping it under the carpet. We're not giving women the support they want. We're not dealing with proper housing issues, giving them finances.
Do you believe anything will change after this referendum? If it's passed, it becomes law?
If it's passed,
Do you
and
think
it becomes
anything will
law.
change for those women as a result of this referendum?
Well, if this is passed, then it means that the government and the people in general are committed to providing alternatives for these women.
Does it say it anywhere in the bill?
No.
The crisis agency, yeah.
That's separate from...
It's not in the bill.
It's not in the bill.
it's not part of
And
it, but
we've
it's
done
there.
items on it,
not in
and
the
it
bill.
seems to be a quango which is overseeing other agencies rather than doing a particular caring job for individual women themselves.
Oh, yes, that's exactly what it's for. The money has been provided so that all of those involved will be there
But
to
it'll be
support
money being given to Cura and other people like that, isn't
and
that so?
all the NGOs and
Okay.
all the agencies.
Justin hasn't had a word in for a while.
I think
Justin.
it's quite clear for the psychology that the government is working on when it sets up a crisis pregnancy agency to help women in these situations and places somebody who has been so involved in the political issue of abortion on one side as Olive Braden. It's quite clear where the government is coming from with this amendment, that it should add on a crisis pregnancy agency and put somebody so clearly identified with the pro-choice movement at the head of it. The Irish people rejected precisely this amendment. Rejigged it is now today, but we rejected it in November of 1992. It's precisely the same proposal. It removes the threat of suicide as grounds for an abortion, explicitly in the Act, but it allows for the direct and intentional
But
killing of the unborn
Justin
child
can't
in every
say
other circumstance.
why the people rejected it in 1992. It's just as right to argue that people rejected it because they were so appalled with the circumstances of the X and the CX case that they said they did want to leave that very limited circumstance.
Everybody knows why the November 92 wording
Pat, like a
was
lot of other
rejected.
people, I'm very confused. And to be honest about it, after listening to everybody, I'm still just as confused. But the one point I think is very interesting, I think we have all different parties up here mumbling, jumbling on about this, that and the other thing. And I think it's very interesting that this has came up and has become an issue 2 or 3 months before a general election. And I'm wondering how much of that is electioneering?
Well, it was a commitment made very early on in the term of the government by Bertie Ahern. But I have a question for Mary Coughlan. Why are we spending money on 2 election days when we could have done it all on the one day? Because that is costing public money, and I just wonder why we didn't do it.
It certainly is, but I think it would be totally inappropriate to have a referendum and a general election.
We have done that before.
simultaneously. We have done that before. People have, as a consequence, become confused and oftentimes didn't bother even voting. What I'm saying is to concentrate the mind
hang on a second.
this
How
issue.
are the people so clever that they can understand this bill, and yet they get confused over an amendment and which candidate they're going to vote for in the general election? I mean, they're capable of doing that.
No one, I would agree with what's been said. People, the electorate, are well able, they're more than intelligent to read the issues and to make up their own mind. We've put forward what we feel the issues are, and certainly I think it would be inappropriate in the context of this specific issue, being abortion, and the protection of life in pregnancy. It is so important that it would be, in my opinion, it is best dealt with on one day.
I mean, that's the government's position. I've just pointed out that in 1992 we had 3 issues to vote
That's
on.
right.
And
you had to vote 2 of them
and
yes,
2
and 1 of
yes
them
and
no.
1 no. So that shows a certain sophistication on the part of the electorate, I
No
think.
one is undermining the sophistication of
Ben?
anybody in the electorate.
One of the reasons why, and it's a pity that certain political parties have chosen to make it a political football, but one of the advantages that was there from having the election separate from the referendum was precisely so that people would approach it in a calm and objective fashion. Look behind the slogans, look at the facts, and people will vote yes.
Pat, could I just make a point here? Because I think it's important that we make the point. There is an alternative. The government could have decided not to go down the constitutional route. All the expert advice was that we shouldn't have another amendment. Can I say, just in relation to the issue of the women who are travelling to Britain to have abortions, we share that right across the spectrum here. We share a concern to reduce that high level of abortion. I would much prefer be working with the pro-life movement to see what we can do to help as regards preventative measures, to support women, to ensure that there aren't as many crisis pregnancies and there aren't as many abortions.
And I think
but because we have this divisive amendment, we're on opposite sides of the camp.
Everybody is kind of at one on that it
That's
is a
right,
scandal.
and
that
that's
so
where
many-
we should be
But
putting our
finally,
resources.
before I go tonight, I want to maybe one last comment from before I wrap this up. Yeah, briefly?
Sorry, Pat, just before I go home out of here tonight, what I'm just wondering is, if I vote yes or if I vote no, am I legalising abortion in this country?
Okay, now I'm not going to answer that question or let them, because they've all made their pitch. But I want to ask people in the audience, and hands up if things are clearer now after hearing all of that. Hands up if things are the same as they were or worse. What can I say? We have done our best.
Longer seminar.
You should have given us the whole
We
programme.
did our best. My thanks to everybody who came in, to Nora and Liz and Justin and Ben and Mary and Barry. Difficult to come up here and do it as we did, but we tried to keep the shouting down to a minimum. I think at least in that we succeeded. I hope we helped you somewhat. That's all we have time for. Radio Monday, back here next Friday night. Until then, good night.
Buy and register a new Renault before February 28th and you could win a trip to New York to celebrate St. Patrick's Day with The Late Late Show. Renault, sponsors of The Late Late Show.
Saturday night on 1 kicks off with a comedy starring Emilio Estevez in the hilarious comedy Mighty Ducks. At 8:30, Derek Mooney will make one lucky contestant's dreams come true in Winning Streak. Then, following the news, Stuart Townsend and Oscar nominee Kate Hudson star in a network television premiere about Adam. At 20 to 12, you have another chance to follow the adventures and misadventures of Fergus in the build-up to his big day. Then, for all you night owls, the first of our movie Double Bill tells the story of a young boy who makes a stand against the bullies at his boarding school. That's viewing for Saturday night here on RTE1.